Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey at 8 p.m. on the evening of Tuesday, March 27th, 2012, in the boardroom of the Administration Building, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey. The purpose of the meeting is to transact the regular business of the board and to transact any other business to properly come before the board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Friday, March 23rd, 2012, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, Town Clerk of Westfield, Alternative Press, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting. Vince, could you do a roll call?
Mr. Matesic?
Here.
Mr. Finn?
Here.
Ms. Carey?
Here.
Mrs. Clancy?
Here.
Mr. Friedman?
Here.
Ms. Kirstead?
Here.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Here.
Mrs. Olig?
Here.
Mr. Friedman, could you lead us in the flag?
Sure, please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Announcements tonight. Mitch?
All right, start off in athletics. Jack Martin, our cross-country coach for over 38 years, has been recognized with an award from the National Federation of Coaches for his distinguished background, experience, service, and promotion of his sport at the state and national levels. This award is given throughout the USA for coaches of various sports, and Mr. Martin is only one of 8 coaches in New Jersey who is among this year's recipients. The New Jersey State Interscholastic Association and the New Jersey Scholastic Coaches Association submit the nominees. Jack not only represented New Jersey, but the entire Northeast section and region of the U.S., and today, Senator Kane acknowledged the success of Coach Martin and the entire cross-country team who earned the state championship this year, as well as competing on the national level. And congratulations, Jack. You're well deserved.
Yes. From the intermediate schools, the Optimist Club of Westfield has announced that the deadline for receipt of nominations for the 15th Annual Intermediate School Outstanding Teacher Award is Friday, April 20th. 2 intermediate school teachers, one from Edison, one from Roosevelt, intermediate schools will be chosen to receive the award on May 9th at an Optimist dinner and will be honored at a Board of Education meeting in June. Students, parents, and staff are encouraged to submit nomination letters to Outstanding Teacher Award Committee of the Optimist Club of Westfield, care of the Office of the Superintendent at the Westfield Public Schools, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey. Letters can also be emailed to Opti Award, OPTIAWARD, at westfieldnjk12.org. And as a reminder, I'd like to ask parents, students, and staff to remember that the 20th Phil Hauer Fellowship will be awarded this year at a Rotary luncheon in May and at a Board of Education meeting on May 1st. And this is to honor our elementary teacher, recognize our elementary teacher. So look for this brochure in your elementary school office. Look online at Rotary Phil Hauer at westfieldnjk12.org, and I'm sure that there's a special announcement on the homepage of the website for both of these award opportunities. We always look forward to announcing our Phil Hauer and our Optimist Club Outstanding Teacher Awards. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
Yes, I am very pleased to congratulate Jefferson School 5th grader Ronnie Maleo, who not only advanced to the state level in the New Jersey State Federation of Women's Spelling Bee this month, but he placed 3rd in all of New Jersey. So congratulations to Ronnie.
All right.
Esther Graziano, an Edison intermediate school teacher in the Gifted and Talented program, was accepted into the 2012 Honeywell Educators at Space Academy program at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Esther has been a teacher in Westfield for 6 years. Among the many subject areas she teaches are physics and advanced mathematics. The Space Academy program will be held this summer. We look forward to Esther's sharing her experience with her students and our community upon her return.
Yes. Westfield Public Schools will be closed for spring break from April 2nd through April 9th. Monday, April 9th, which is the day after Easter, was recently added to extend the spring break. It was added as a give-back day since the district did not use its reserved snow days.
Thank you. I have 3 announcements. The first has to do with parking around the high school. The members of the Town Council and the Westfield Board of Education are pleased to announce another community outreach meeting scheduled for Wednesday, April 18th, 2012, in Westfield High School Cafeteria B at 7:30 p.m. The purpose of the meeting will be to present a proposal that addresses parking and traffic safety improvements in and around the Westfield High School area and the Edison Intermediate area. The proposal is the result of a collaborative effort between the Board of Education and Town Council members, as well as staff professionals and a professional traffic engineer. This will be the 3rd community outreach meeting on the topic of parking and traffic improvements in the Westfield High School area. The proposal is responsive to public input received to date, and we look forward to the public's continued input on the proposal as we seek to establish a solution that may be implemented in 2012. Second announcement is that the Board of Education meeting, the next Board of Education meeting, will be held Tuesday, April 10th, when schools will reopen after spring break. We wish our entire school community an enjoyable holiday and week. My third announcement is a very special announcement. I'd like to just take it up at the podium. It is my pleasure to welcome and congratulate 8 Westfield High School seniors who have been named finalists in the National Merit Scholarship Program, the largest number of Westfield finalists in over a decade. This is an extraordinary accomplishment for these finalists and a salute to Westfield High School, which is rooted in a tradition of academic excellence. According to the National Merit Scholarship Corporation, the nationwide pool of finalists represents less than 1% of U.S. high school seniors. You are among the highest scoring entrants in the nation on the preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship qualifying test. That includes your scores in all 3 testing areas: critical reading, mathematics, and writing. You are academic scholars who have proven yourself on a national level, and we on the Westfield Board of Education applaud your hard work, your achievement, and commitment to your education, and we wish you continued success. As I call out your name, if you would come up to the podium and receive a certificate of appreciation from the Westfield Board of Education. Thomas Edwards. Gina Gao. Catherine Jaruzelski. Hannah Margolin. Kathleen Tang. Leo Tolias. Brian Vanderschaff. And Nicholas Zaharodny. There you have it. Great job. If I could ask Peter Renwick, the principal of Westfield High School, if you'd like to say a few words, by all means.
I would absolutely like to say a few words. Like so many of the parents that are here this evening, I'm extremely proud of these students who are all wonderful representatives of Westfield and of Westfield High School. They have done a fabulous job with their academics, but what I can also tell you is that they are well-rounded individuals who I know will be tremendously successful in whatever they choose to do in life. It has been an honor to get to know them on different levels, but certainly when I heard the news, I congratulated them, and I know that they will continue to be representatives of this wonderful district in such high regard wherever they travel. So again, congratulations, you've earned this. We wish you well in all of your professional and personal endeavors moving forward, and thank you for representing us so well. Thank you for this opportunity.
That's your cue. Congratulations.
I guess they didn't know I was doing a budget.
No, I guess do a test on this later.
Right.
Congratulations, Tom.
Just those chickens.
All right. I'll now recognize the public for agenda items only. All right. Seeing no one come to the podium, I ask that we move to the budget hearing for the 2012-2013 school year.
Thank you. And this is certainly, we've been doing a great deal of work in public, certainly for a number of meetings, several meetings, and we're going to talk a little bit about how long ago the budget process worked, but this is the night where it all comes together, where all the information is in place, where many questions have been asked, where revisions have been made, and this is the night where we ask for approval from the Board of Education. But actually, the whole process of putting together a budget starts way back in the fall, and generally starts with Ms. DeNiro, the interim business administrator, and myself sitting down, reviewing our needs, reviewing enrollment, and then setting up a schedule to meet with the various administrators, with the principals of each building, with the supervisors of each department, with the assistant superintendents in charge of various departments. And as we start that process, and again, it's begun in the fall, we work to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the students. You know, what new needs have we identified? What changes have we noted? We work to look to make sure are we supporting our work towards the strategic plan, and we certainly are also making sure that we're supporting board goals, and we'll see examples of that as we go forward. And then, once we have formulated a number of that information, a great deal of information, working closely with Ms. DeNiro, we start meeting with the board's finance committee. And those board members who are on that committee know that that committee meets quite a bit and meets regularly, has a number of questions, asks us to look at things in different ways, asks us to show in various ways how money is being spent and why we think it needs to be spent in a certain way going forward. So that's quite a process that involves, I should have added up the number of nights, but it might have depressed us also. Quite a few number of nights to make sure that we're giving due diligence to the preparation of the budget. once we've done adequate work in that, the public presentations begin. And this year, we started our public presentations on February 7th, that continued at the February 28th meeting, and every Tuesday in March, including tonight. So we've had a number of different budget presentations, and again, we'll be going over some of that tonight and answering some of the questions raised in previous presentations. And every time we have a presentation at the board, that information is also posted on the website, so that members of the community who cannot attend these meetings can have access to that as well, can review it at their own time, and then can send emails or questions to the board members and myself, and that does happen. Additionally, after every board meeting, I send out a synopsis which summarizes what happened at the board meeting, and not counting staff, we have over 1,500 subscribers to that. So a number of people in town were thrilled, really do want to know what's going on and do follow up. And I can tell you, even when I walk to go pick up something in the food store, I will have people ask me questions about something from a budget presentation. In addition, certainly we do speak to PTOs and also to the PTC to make sure that people have an opportunity to hear what is in the budget, and also to ask questions or to make suggestions, something that might not have come up. And all of that is very helpful in preparation. So with that, the budget which we are presenting to the board for adoption tonight, it's wonderful to be able to say this, because for a number of years I had to sit here and tell you what we couldn't do, and that was the focus of presentations, of what we had to do without for a while. But this year that is not the case. We're able to maintain all of our academic programs. We're able to maintain all the support programs needed by students at every level in the school district, and we are able to maintain all of our extracurricular programs. That said, and I'm thrilled about that, that said, that does not mean that everything that has been cut over the years is coming back magically. You know, I think maybe a lot of people would want that to happen, but everything we currently have we're able to maintain, and that is a wonderful thing to be able to say, and wonderful for our students in the district. And we also, the Finance Committee was very adamant about this year. While we were preparing it, we needed to make sure we were investing in our future. What could we do that was going to continue to help our students and our district going forward? And the reason why technology for all schools is at the top of the list is because that definitely has been an initiative that we have committed to this year. Because of the importance of technology, and we've talked about that at this table more than once this year, but that is just an area where we know our students need that instruction in technology, that use of technology, if they're going to be able to compete when they leave our school. So that is a major thrust, both the infrastructure that's required in the district, the devices that are required in the district, the support that will be required, that includes support for devices and support for infrastructure. It includes support for teachers who are going to be asked to use this, for administrators who are going to be asked to use new devices. There is money in the budget going forward to make sure that all of that can happen. So that is definitely a major initiative and an investment in our future. Additionally, across the country, states are adopting the Common Core standards, which really are a shift in some of the academic areas. So we have included money in our budget to make sure that we will provide continue to provide sufficient professional development for our teachers, so that in the classroom they can then provide the instruction in the Common Core standards to prepare our students. Counseling services. This is an issue that's actually part of our strategic plan and was also discussed at this table last year and this year. So at the high school level, we'll be adding an additional counselor, and we'll also be providing additional support so that our counselors can continue to learn more and more about more and more universities and keep up with changes at the college application level. We're also going to provide some additional support at the elementary level where we did not have sufficient support. So we'll be able to do some incremental support in that the elementary level. As anyone who has ever visited our schools know, we have old buildings, and old buildings require maintenance, and this has also been a focus of our work, the board's work, this year certainly, and will continue to be next year. They're old buildings, we need to take care of them because they're grand old buildings, so we have to make sure they continue to serve our students well. We have been talking about introducing a non-European language in this district for many years, actually, and have had to put it on hold a few times for a variety of reasons. But we are thrilled that we're going to be able to pilot a course in that at Westfield High School beginning next year. I'm also very glad to say that we have enough students who are signed up for the pilot class. That was just last week where that information was required, and we do have a sufficient number to offer that class. And one of the other goals we've been working on is being prepared for the increasing high school enrollment. We have time to do that, and we've been trying to work towards that gradually. And so there is money in this budget to provide some additional staff to help accommodate the increasing enrollment. And I think I'm going to turn this over now to Mr. Yaniro, who's going to talk about some of the specifics of the budget.
Okay, thank you. First spot are the additional staff in the proposed budget. These staff members are there basically to support the programs that Dr. Dolan referred to. First is a half-time increase of computer and tech support at Edison, 2 high school teachers, 1 high school guidance counselor, 1 athletic site supervisor. This is a restoration of a position that was previously reduced. Half-time payroll department position. This is a result of additional state requirements regarding pension and benefits. Increased support at the elementary level for guidance, and also a number of positions related to technology staff support. As noted by Dr. Dolan, is a major focus and emphasis of the district this coming year. And that total is estimated at $620,000. Looking further into budget, looking at some of the cost savings measures that we incorporate every year. First, we purchase electricity and natural gas for heating through a consortium of school districts. Basically, the members of the consortium get together and we go out to bid on a bulk basis for this delivery, and as a result we get the lowest possible rates. And that's a major portion of our budget, the energy piece of our budget. Moving on again to energy, we're very proud of an energy conservation program we enacted about 5 years ago with an energy management system and a very aggressive posture in terms of monitoring that system, and that has saved us about $1.6 million to date in energy costs, and those are dollars that are better served for education and academics. We also join just about every cooperative that we can. These cooperatives go out to bid on the basis of bulk purchases related to a number of school districts. And not only are we able to purchase supplies through these cooperatives, but also services such as roof repairs and driveway repairs. And that's been a major initiative of the district, and it's much more cost effective to do these repairs in this manner. We're able to get good contractors at very good prices without going out to bid. Next, use of state contracts. Again, the state goes out to bid on behalf of school districts throughout the state, and we take advantage when necessary when the co-ops do not have the services or goods that we require. We also share services with the town regarding equipment and labor. We have a very good relationship with the town. This helps us reduce expenses. Our whole program is designed to limit the use of outside contractors doing most of the repairs in district at considerable cost savings. We also use cooperative bus services through the county. All of our special education transportation is arranged through the county. The county coordinates special education transportation throughout the county, thereby saving us a considerable amount of money. So where does the money come from? You'll see the top piece of the pie, obviously, is the major piece of the pie, and that's the tax levy at $87,994,000. That represents a 1.9% increase over this year's tax levy, which is within our 2% budget cap. Moving around the pie, State aid is $2,832,000. That represents an additional $693,000 in state aid that we're receiving next year. Miscellaneous income, these are student activity fees, gate receipts, special education pupils that we receive on a tuition basis, subscription busing fees, and integrated pre-kindergarten fees. Next is extraordinary, this is extraordinary special education expenditures, debt service, state aid, and non-public aid. We're required to provide services to non-public school districts in town, but we are reimbursed for those costs through the state. Next is federal aid. This is almost extensively special education aid to help us with our program. And finally, budgeted fund balance. These are extra funds that we generated last year. As a result, we believe of careful restrictions placed on spending and some of the economies mentioned before related to joining and purchasing through cooperative ventures. So those funds are appropriated into the budget in lieu of raising taxes by that amount. Where does the money go? You would guess again that the major piece of the pie, of course, is instruction at 66.7%, transportation 2.7%, in-district and out-of-district transportation, administration at 3.4%, child study team, these are our special education services, special for speech, occupational, and therapy, and athletics. Our operations, these are secretaries' salaries and benefits, our auditor, legal fees, telephone, office supplies. Another account for nurses, guidance, and librarians at 5.2%. Co-curricular activities at 0.4%. These are clubs and activities. And finally, debt service. These are mortgage payments for previous bond issues. Looking at the major categories and the changes from this year to next year, you can see instruction is up 3.8%, maintenance down 2.7%, operations down 2.5%, nurses, guidance, librarians up 5%, administration down 5.1%, debt service up 1.5%, transportation down 0.6%, child study team down 5.9%, athletics up 8.4%, co-curricular down 0.1%, total budget at 2.2%, which we'll talk about later. Our technology initiative for next year. Some of the increase is partially offset by a decrease in health benefits costs. 2 years ago, employees made concessions at the bargaining table, which reduced the cost of coverage. Also, state law requires employees to share in the cost of health benefits and make payroll contributions. As a result, these costs have been reduced, and we're able to use these dollars in other areas of the budget. Transportation, we noted a decrease of 0.6%. This is primarily due to our continuing effort to keep more special education pupils in district. Administration, decrease of 5.1%. This is also related to decrease in health benefits costs, as well as new staff replacing retiring staff members at a lower cost. Child study team, we talked about this before, special education services, speech, occupational, and physical therapy. We are planning to reduce these expenses by not moving to contracted services, by employing our own staff, which is much more cost effective. And again, the decrease in health benefits costs in this category. Operations, primarily secretaries and telephone. Again, decrease in health benefits costs, and a considerable decrease in telephone expenses as a result of our moving to a new, less costly telephone system. Athletics, increase of 8.4%. Part of this is a restoration of the site supervisor position and increase in equipment and coaches' salary accounts. Co-curricular, a decrease of 0.1%. This is a slight decrease in supply accounts. This is a small account. Nurses, guidance, and media, increase of 5%. The bulk of that represents the guidance staff increases that we talked about before. Increase is partially offset by the health benefits decreases that we discussed before. Maintenance, decrease of 2.7%. Again, health benefits costs helps decrease the expenditures in this account, and some of the custodial overtime incurred is offset by building usage fees. At our last meeting, we looked at the special education budget for next year. There was some suggestions that we elaborate a little bit on the comparison from year to year in this account. First, the salaries and benefits for the child study team and the teachers, increasing at $314,000. Tuition, of course, these are for out of district. These are pupils whose needs we can't meet in district and thus send out of district to public or private placements. That's increasing $398,000. Related services, speech, occupational, physical therapy, increasing at $48,000, and supplies a decrease of $100. And the total increase is $760,000 or 3.6%. We did talk a little bit about the number of pupils classified in our district last week. Basically, 18.2% of our pupils are classified as needing special education instruction. This is up from 17.4% 4 years ago. However, 4 years ago, our out-of-district placements decreased from 106 pupils to 92 pupils, despite an increase in enrollment over this period of time. So we may be classifying a little bit more of our students, but we're keeping more of our students in district. Another budget we haven't touched upon is the fine arts budget, which covers music, art, drama, and plays put on by students. The salaries and benefits increasing $177,000. Equipment, $5,000. Supplies decreasing almost $12,000. Field trips and assemblies increasing $2,200, and other increasing $27. Total increase is $173,000 or 4.0%. Also, one area that is not on the slide, but I did want to review it a little bit, and that's our technology budget. You heard from Dr. Dolan before what an emphasis we're placing on technology in next year's budget, and I thought I would review the comparison here. First of all, the increase in equipment is $840,000 for next year. Additional staff increase is $250,000. Supplies, software, and tech is increasing $5,000. The total increase is $1,095,000. That represents 53% of our total budget increase. And the majority of the extra state aid we received, that's $693,000, went into our technology initiative. These figures do not include the wireless installation costing $600,000 that we had presented a few weeks ago. That is to be funded out of our maintenance reserve account. Looking at the tax implications of the proposed budget. Total tax levy in 2011-12, $85,544,000. Proposed, $87,194,000, for an increase of $1,650,000, or 1.9%. Again, that's within our 2.0% state-imposed budget cap. The tax increase on the average assessed home, $182,000, is $183. Looking at our total budget increase, tax levy, as we mentioned before, is increasing 1.9%. Other revenue, state and federal aids, etc., increasing $402,000, or 5.2%. Total budget increasing $2,052,000, or 2.2%. The reason that is greater than the 2% budget cap we talked about before is the budget cap is on the tax levy. And when we receive additional sources of revenue, particularly additional state aid, we can utilize those funds, which we did, as I said before, primarily for technology initiatives. And again, most of that state aid went into technology. How does our proposed budget compare with other districts in terms of cost per pupil? You'll see that the state average for K-12 districts is $13,587. Our average is $11,814 per pupil. This is a comparison of budget costs of districts with similar socioeconomic status as Westfield. We believe this demonstrates that we make efficient use of the funds available. As you most likely know, there will be no budget election or election of board members in April, as in past years. We were given the option by the legislature to not have a budget election, provided our budget comes within the budget cap 2%, which our district does. Certainly, the governor encouraged districts to take advantage of his legislation. Primary purposes were to save money in election expenses. In our case, that's about $30,000, and also to increase voter participation. Statewide, the average is about 15%. So what will happen, however, there will be an election of board members, and that will be in November at the general election. On June 5th, that's the primary election date, nominating petitions for the position of board member must be submitted. Those nominating petitions are usually available about a month before the date that they are due. And then finally, in January 2013, it will have the board reorganization meeting. The new board members will take their seats on the board. And finally, as you most likely know, we've had an incredible year, both academically and from an athletic standpoint. 96% of our graduates continue on their education. We've had a number of state and county championship athletic teams, national and regional rankings in academic and fine arts competition, and once again mentioning our energy consumption program of savings of about $1.6 million. We welcome your comments and questions.
Gina.
Focusing on slide 21 for a moment, which is our comparison of per pupil spending.
Correct.
I think this chart is a stunning example of Westfield's prudent spending and what we have done in the recent past and continue to do with keeping, as we saw this evening, keeping our academic standards, our academic program rigorous, as well as supporting student needs. But for those who are specifically concerned about fiscal prudence and effective spending, for me, this chart really says it all in terms of Westfield spending at $11,814 per pupil compared to similar demographic school districts. So this is a key point that I'm very happy to focus on. I just wanted to focus for 1 second on page 5, which is the investment in our future slide. I'm very happy to see that the priority spending, which I know we have requested and have supported, is on technology for our schools, including equipment, devices, software, and training of our staff specifically. What we didn't mention was that a considerable amount of our increased state aid also went into professional development, additional professional development for staff.
Correct, right.
For new and unknown at the moment device choices and instructional choices in classrooms. So I think that this is a very wise investment in the future of our staff and our students. And I'm very happy to see technology at the very top of the charts, and I'm so grateful that this year finally we're able to spend more of our dollars, especially state aid dollars, in this category, because for way too long we have been forced to neglect this very important area of spending. So, I'm happy.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Ann?
I'm going to slide, or page 18, on fine arts. You were going a little quickly there. I think I missed something. Did we hire new staff in fine arts?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
No. Part of the reason why it looks higher is I forgot to add in the cost, the contributions by staff for health benefits. So if I had factored that into the salaries and benefits, that total increase would have been closer to 3.5%.
So, but the 177,
That does not represent additional staff, no.
what does it represent? It's
Salary
just
salary increases and benefits.
okay. And then under supplies, I see here we're cutting the supply line because when Dr. King came to the curriculum committee a month ago or so, she said that she had had the same supply level since 2007. And it was really impacting, even though her staff is very creative in finding ways to get supplies,
Right.
like they're using lower quality construction paper, for instance, and now I see that we're cutting this.
That was just a reflection of the budget request, which was up to the maximum expenditure amount that we had permitted. I mean, I could look at it a little more carefully,
So she requested that her
but
supply line be cut?
well, her total budget increased at the actually, I say increased at the level we permitted, but that's what it turned out to. It did go down.
Well, I'm really unhappy about that. Ginny is happy. I'm unhappy.
So Vince, how did you build the how did you build the 122,515? Is that an aggregation of requests, or is that?
Yes, it is. I mean, Vince may have a better memory than I do, but I'm trying to think of, we've probably had, I don't know, over 40 budget meetings, so I'm not going to tell you I remember the exact discussion about the supplies at that budget meeting.
Right.
Except I thought I remember Dr. King coming in and saying, "You're not going to believe this, but I actually have a cut." Now, I can't remember what it was. I'm going to guess it was in the supply line because it doesn't seem to be in
Well,
anything else.
Yeah, sometimes it relates to inventory. I mean, if they have,
Right.
you know, we always ask everybody to check their inventories, and sometimes their inventories start to build up, so they don't need the same level of supplies.
And I know also, for example,
Technology can do that. for
and
example.
that's exactly what I was going to
Right.
say. The art teachers this year all have the use of technology in the art rooms, and they're
Less
using it. I
paper.
mean, right, and it's amazing. Every time I have gone into an art room this year, which is quite a few times actually, the technology is being used. And so that might be one reason. I don't remember that being discussed at the budget meeting, but I will tell you in the art rooms, they have access to technology, and I'll tell you, the art teachers are absolutely utilizing it. So that may be one of the reasons. I don't
Right.
remember the specific conversation,
I mean-
but I think that's a possibility.
Well,
Yeah, we
I-
could get more information on it, but that represented the request.
Okay.
It wasn't something that,
That's just
it wasn't,
confusing
it wasn't
because
something that
certainly
we
not
cut
has-
intentionally. It represented the request.
Okay, I mean, this is an area I'm a little concerned about because she did have a wish list. She wanted, she thinks that we right now have a 3/5 art teacher that she wanted to go full-time for the elementary school. She had requested a new music teacher at the elementary school, and, I mean, we didn't really, she didn't get any of the things on her list. And I know that we were obviously juggling many priorities and whatnot, but this is an area that, you know, didn't get anything this year. And I just,
Right.
I wanted to raise it. I raised it in the Finance Committee on 2 occasions.
Right, and certainly fine arts is an area that in this district and this town, I would say, that is valued. There's no question. And I certainly value it, just personally, and as an educator. However, I will tell you, and I think I mentioned this in finance, I would be hard-pressed to think of an administrator who came to the budget meeting and didn't ask me for additional items, you know, additional staff, and they're valid, you know. They tell me what they could do if they had additional staff, if they had additional supplies, if they had additional support, whatever. That's kind of their role. They are trying to, each one of them is making their school, their department, the best it can be. And they all come in and ask. And you're right. Vince and I have to sit, we have to ask more questions, we have to make judgments, we have to make lists of, if we had all the money in the world, what are the ones we would fill out? What are the ones, though, that are truly, you know, a need as opposed to a want? And there is judgment involved in that. But we certainly we work to give all of the departments and all of the schools an equal hearing so that it is equitable across the district.
This is more of a general comment, and it's not, I mean, rarely do you look at a line item and say, God, I wish that number was higher. But having not seen this before, I have to bring it up. When I look at the field trip assembly line, and I see $26,000 proposed, and I just sort of do a quick math with 6,000 students and see that breaks down roughly $4 per student for field trips, it brings up a point that has just been an issue that I just, you know, going to throw out there. It's not, again, not a budget issue, but something to consider more for next year, because I would love to see us have more field trips. I think that's one area that I think we could actually do a little bit better on, and that we can take advantage of the area, the museums that are in Philadelphia, the Constitution Museum, for example, for Washington, for just a number of the field trips that, you know, I may be dating myself, but maybe that I grew up with, I don't see happening as much here. And as much as I am the biggest proponent out there for technology and global and bring everything to us, there's nothing like actually going and experiencing field trips. And just throwing it out there for next year, I'd love to take a closer look at that line and see if that's something that the different supervisors feel might be helpful in increasing. So,
Right.
again, it's not a budget issue. Obviously, we are where we're at, but just seeing that in front of me, I find a little bit staggering on that end.
Right, and actually, just about all the fine arts field trips and have to do with our performing groups going places. You know, when our high school groups go out and perform for different community groups, how do we pay for the buses to get there? Places like that.
Right.
When we have all city and they visit the different schools, how do we pay for that? Most of that has to do with that. And because you bring up an interesting point, and there are great reasons for field trips, and they can have an impact. Kids tend to remember those decades later. The only ones the district really pays for, we have other ones, but the only ones the district pays for are tied to our some of our science curriculum at the high school, because it's an integral part of the curriculum in some of the science courses. So the district actually pays for very, very little of that. In general, it really is the parents, and sometimes supported by the PTOs as well. So it certainly can be discussed in the future,
Sure.
but that's where we are now.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Questions, comments?
So I just did a quick calculation on this per pupil spending, and I found this out. I found it's rather amazing. The difference between our spending and the state average is $1,773 per student. At our 6,288 students, that's over $11 million that we would have to be adding into our budget if we were spending at a state average amount. There's no way we're ever going to be at that level with a 2% cap. So we have to continue in our really effective use of revenue and dollar state of mind. But I think I hope that gives some comfort to those who are mindful of the spending that the district does. And the really hard decisions that have been made in the past and will have to continue to be made in the future as to where our dollars will be going. That woke me up a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. Anyone else? Roseanne?
I really tried. I just wanted to comment that, yes, I'm happy to, as Jean is. And it was interesting to me that the fine arts supplies did go down. Vince, throughout the presentation, mentioned that we saved some money with changing staff. So staff retired, and then we hired people that were possibly not at the same level. I just want to make it clear that that is not a criterion by which we hire people. We hire the best person for the position who is available. And I just wanted the public to know that that's not a strategy we use. We just want the best person. It just so happens this year that there have been retirees, and we have found great people to fill those positions that may be coming in at lower salaries.
All right, anyone else? I'd just like to say, having worked with the Finance Committee, we had a lot of meetings, and I want to thank the administration, Dr. Dolan, Mr. Yaniro, for all the support through the process. As many meetings as we had, and as many weeks as we worked, you had several weeks and meetings on us with all the various administration throughout the district. And thank you very much, because it was a good budget, well put together, well thought through. Thank you. With that, I'd go back to the budget hearing for the 2012-2013 school year and ask that the board consider the following resolutions. We take questions? Sure.
Yeah.
Anyone from the public wish to comment or have questions? All right. Seeing no one, I would ask the board to consider the following resolutions. Resolved that the Westfield Board of Education hereby adopts the 2012-2013 school year budget, and further resolved that there should be raised for the general funds $84,667,000 $331 for the ensuing school year, 2012-2013, and be it resolved that there should be raised for debt service funds $2,527,277 for the ensuing school year, 2012-2013. Second?
Second.
No further comments or discussion. I'd ask Vince to please take a roll call.
Mr. Matesic?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mr. Finn? Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mrs. Kerstad?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Mrs. Olig?
Yes.
All right. So approved. Personnel. Jane?
Okay, I would like to make a motion to ask for the board's approval of personnel items number 1 and 2, as well as addendum item number 3.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
And
And I am going to turn it over to Dr. Dolan. Speaking of retirements, we have a big one this evening.
we do. Tonight I am announcing with regret the retirement of Cheryl O'Brien, who has been Edison's principal since 1999. Cheryl came to Westfield almost 18 years ago and filled the role of assistant principal of Roosevelt at that time. She came with a deep understanding of middle school students, having worked as an intermediate level language arts teacher before becoming an administrator. Cheryl is a lifelong learner, and she is committed to bringing educational theory into authentic practice in her teachers' classrooms. She has loved her work at Edison, and we wish her well. And as she retires, she'll be spending a great deal of time in her childhood hometown in Wisconsin. And there she's going to be near her friends and her family. We certainly wish her the best, but I would also just like to add, since she's the principal of an intermediate school, that she has a lot more work to do before the end of the school year. But we wish her the best. She's worked hard for us for a long time, and again, there is a woman who just loves middle school age students. She found where her love was, and she's worked there for quite a few years.
I'd just like to add to that comment that my very first encounter with Cheryl O'Brien was, I think it was her first year at Edison, and we just did a lot of big numbers, but I can't remember which child I had there in 1999, but it was one of them. And she called all of the 6th grade parents after their first marking period to wish them well and congratulate them, and it made me feel really good. And I think she spoke to, it would have been one of my sons at the time, to also congratulate him, ask him how school was going, and that left a lasting impression, and she will as well. So we wish her well as well.
Sure. Any other comments or questions? Vince?
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mr. Matesic?
Yes.
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Ms. Kerstad?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Mrs. Olig?
Yes.
Facilities. Jane?
Okay, so tonight we have a resolution actually under finance regarding the replacement of the roofs on our schools. And after the board discussion over the last several weeks, it has become quite clear to us now that now is the time to address the needs on our roofs. So this resolution would allow us to hold a bond referendum on September 24th, and if passed, the roof work would be completed in the summer of 2013. What is currently not in the resolution this evening is the addition of a turf field. After our discussions at this table, questions have been raised about the location, the cost, the size, and possible lighting. Because we would like to have a greater understanding of a suitable location, we would like to explore these options and facilities and come back with a solid site recommendation and the cost implications. We had discussed, we had talked about including turf and then having time to pull it, but we have been advised by George Duthie that we would have about a month to do the investigation and still be able to then add to the bond if that becomes a recommendation. So the Facilities Committee will meet on April 12th, and we'll come back to you at our April 24th meeting with our findings.
Thank you. Long-range planning. Ginny?
Long-range planning met last Friday, March 23rd. We heard a preliminary report on the projected enrollment study by Ross Haber Associates. It was a terrific meeting. We had a lot of data, charts, analysis. There is a little more work to be done, a little more teasing out of the data, and we will be getting a couple of more reports for our review and possibly have the report to the board at the end of April, if not the end of April, the beginning of May.
Roseanne, policies.
I would like to approve for final reading the 2013-2014 school calendar, and I would also like to approve for final reading the policy 0142 and policy 5530. And I would also like the board to approve, I would like to move that the board affirm the superintendent's decision on 12M10 for the reasons set forth therein.
Second.
Any comments, discussion?
All right, Vince?
Ms. Kerstadt?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Mr. Matesic?
Yes.
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mrs. Ogle?
Yes.
All right. Curriculum, instruction, and programs. Ann?
No report tonight.
All right. That brings us to finance. There are 19 resolutions in finance. Let me start with just, by summary, walk through a few of them. Jane mentioned in the facilities report that we would be approving resolutions with respect to a bond issuance and work on the Westfield roofs. That is covered in resolutions 1 through 14 with respect to each of our facilities. Those resolutions also approve bond counsel. The bond referendum would be held on Monday, September 24th, 2012. And Vince, would we have prior to that a separate resolution with the specifics of the bond issuance?
Only if we adjust it on the basis of turf, the basis of
Okay.
the turf field.
Okay, so this
So
would,
this suffices for our application for a bond issue.
okay, so the dollar amount of 13.6 million is sufficiently covered by the resolutions?
Correct.
Okay. In addition to each of the facilities being mentioned, I would also like to point out that, as handed out, Resolutions 17, 18, and 19 cover contract proposals for the windows and doors at Edison School. That's Resolution 17. Bathrooms at Edison School, that's Resolution 18. And then Resolution 19 covers a boiler at Franklin and a boiler at McKinley. All of those projects we've spoken about a few times through facility committee reports. In addition, I would like to call out Resolution 16, which is the acceptance of an anonymous donation of an iPad to the athletic department. So we thank you for that donation. Questions or comments on the various proposals?
On the, Vince, on the bond referendum, is the interest rate in here?
It's
3%?
3%.
It's a 3%.
The assumption is 3%.
Okay, so it's all with a 3% assumption.
And I do have a couple slides on the cost, if you'd like to.
You're going to walk through...
The estimated
yeah.
cost, right.
Yeah, sure. But just before we do that, just
Oh, yeah, sure.
generally, were there
Right.
any
That was-
questions
that was
on
my
that?
question.
Okay. All right, then why don't you take us through the specifics on the bond?
Somebody have to second.
Did you get a second, or did you just start talking? I don't
Second.
remember.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a question.
Well, why don't we, Ginny, is your question relates to
No.
the... Oh, separate, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
So you told us that we have 14 resolutions. We have 10 schools, Taylor, 11, 12,
Elm Street.
Elm Street.
So
and
12
two other-
buildings is
12
correct.
buildings and 2 other resolutions. And those 2 other resolutions are,
One deals with the bond
Bond
council.
council.
and
the
which
other-
one is that?
Numbers
two.
1 and 2. So number 1 deals with the special election on September 24th.
Okay, let's go look at that.
All right. And number 2 deals with the bond council.
Okay, so number 1 sets the date of September 24th for the referendum.
Correct.
It authorizes our application to the state.
Okay. Authorizes referendum application.
Correct. For the roof projects.
For September 24th.
Correct.
I see that date embedded, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's in the next page.
Okay. And then number 2, were there alternate bids or investigations of bond counsel?
No. She has been our bond counsel for many, many years and has served the district very well. And knows our district and has been intimately involved with all of our bond issues. And as recently as a year and a half, she was used to refinance a couple of our issues. And as a result, we saved $200,000 over the last 2 years as a result.
I don't doubt she's capable. I know we've done well.
Right.
I just wondered if there were any other councils that were assessed. Any other professional review?
Well, in my 35 years of experience, I found her, I've worked with her a lot,
Oh.
to basically be the best in the field. And there aren't a lot that deal with school districts. There are a few. She
I understand.
deals with a ton of them. But I mean, if you wanted me to go out to RFP, I mean, that's a little late in the process here, but
No, I didn't know this was coming up on
Okay.
the agenda, so
Right.
I had no opportunity to ask
Right.
you to think about
Right.
another
I
else.
understand. We've already used their services in terms of
Understand.
helping us develop.
So how long is the contract?
Well, it's through the issue. In
Oh,
other
okay.
words, she provides consultation services up
Right.
to the date of the September 24th. And then, of course, if the bond issue passes, then she has to go through all the legal maneuvers to sell the bonds.
Don't we generally appoint bond counsel also as a, do we have a retainer for bond counsel, or we just use services as
We
required?
actually, we actually do it at the
At reorg meeting?
reorganization meeting.
Yeah, okay.
And it's obviously as required.
Right, good, thank you.
Want to take us through the details of the bond issue?
Sure. Looking at the estimated tax impact of the proposed bond issue, and it's estimated because obviously we don't know what the bond issue rate will be when and if we pass the referendum on September 24th. Right now, the climate is very good in terms of interest rates. The estimate is 3% interest rate, which is very low. And making that assumption, the cost of the bond is $88 for the average assessed home, the owner of the average assessed home. However, when looking at the actual tax impact, we need to look at the total bond issue because this is how the taxes are framed for the taxpayer. In other words, there are two portions of our budgets: the general fund portion we talked about before, with the 2% cap on the tax levy, and the other portion is the debt service portion, and that relates to previous bond issues that have been passed. And we have a number of bond issues, about 6 or 7, that coming due at different dates. 3 of them are coming due within a few years, 2015, 2016. So what happens whenever a new issue is proposed? Our bond counsel and auditor get together to develop a new, what's called an amortization or a bond payment schedule that is kind of a wraparound. It wraps around our existing schedule with the intent of having the lowest minimal impact on the taxpayers in terms of increases. So that was done here, so that because we do have some issues coming due fairly soon, it was able to integrate the new bond schedule into our existing bond schedule. And as a result, the estimated tax impact for the first year, that's 2013-14, is an additional $38 for the average assessed home. Now, after that, starting in 2014-15, there's no estimated increase in the total debt service payments. And for the next 18 years, the total debt service tax impact will remain the same or decreases. So that is what we're estimating, what we're looking at as the estimated tax impact of this issue.
When would the issuance actually be if it were passed in September? Would it be right away or within, how does that work?
Well,
gotta sell bonds.
the bonds are sold. I think it takes a couple of months to actually initiate the bond sale.
Yeah, at least 3 months, I would say, right?
Right,
Yeah.
in that range, right. And then your first payment isn't until the next school year, 2013-14.
Right. Thank you. Questions on the bond issuance? All right. Any questions or comments otherwise on any of the resolutions? Okay.
Mr. Matesic?
Yes.
Ms. Kerstadt?
Yes.
Ms. Carey?
Yes.
Mrs. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mrs. Lights?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Mrs. Olig?
Yes.
All right. There are no notes for the record tonight, so that brings us to legislation. Yeah.
We are meeting Thursday at 2 o'clock, and so I'll have a report at our next meeting.
Thank you. Any unfinished business? Any new business? All right, ad hoc committee reports.
Technology Committee will be meeting again tomorrow morning and pretty much on a regular basis as we begin to take the next steps with our strategic plan. So we'll be reporting back over the next month or so, a lot of interesting things.
Any other ad hoc committee reports? Liaison reports.
I attended the Jefferson PTO meeting last Thursday. Reported to them on, what was going on here, and they are gearing up for their major fundraisers. So that was the main focus of their meeting. Nothing else to report.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. With that, I would recognize the public for questions and/or comments. Okay. Seeing no one come to the podium, tonight we do not have a private session, so we stand adjourned.